Hello everyone, I'm Neha Mahajan. Welcome to another episode of ET Smart Investor, where we discuss everything related to your investments and more. In today's episode, we will talk about the power of double engine compounding. And to do that, we have Dr. Mukesh Jindal, co founder at Alpha Capital, with us. Welcome to ET Markets, Dr. Jindal.
Thank you, Neha. Thanks a lot for inviting me to this show. Looking forward to it.
So, first of all, I would like to wish all our viewers a very happy Dashera, and to you too, Dr. Jindal. Hope you have a great time this festival season. And to start our topic of the day, I want to understand that what is double engine compounding and how can one achieve that?
Thank you, Neha. Thanks a lot for the wishes. At the very outset, I would like to wish the audience happy Dashera, happy Vijay Dashmi, happy Subho Vijay. And I think the topic is very amazing. Amazing because it's Vijay Dashmi, and I'm sure if people learn about this double engine power, then they can achieve any goal and any success is possible with this. Now, talking about this double engine compounding, I think this is a supernatural power which helps any investor to grow the wealth exponentially to become super rich, even if he doesn't have any market knowledge, even if he doesn't knows anything about finance. So that's the beauty of this. And before I take you through the double engine, I think it's important we understand which are the first and second engine. So talking about the first engine is of compounding. In fact, the great Albert Einstein told about compounding that it's the eighth wonder of the world. And how compounding works is if you have a principal, if you invest your principal, you earn your interest, and the interest which you earn on this interest helps you grow the wealth exponentially. So for the benefit of everyone, I'll explain this with an example. Let's say if you made an investment of 1 lakh rupees, which gives you 10% every year. So in the first year, you will get 10,000. And investors will also assume it will keep generating 10,000 on a yearly basis, right?
Yeah.
But what happens in power of compounding, the 10,000 also starts generating interest in the next year if it stays invested. So your 1 lakh grows in the first year to 10,000. Then the next year interest is 11,000, and then it becomes 12,100. So, it's a snowball effect. It gradually starts moving, and eventually it becomes so huge that it's like an avalanche. So that's the power of compounding. In fact, our great Warren Buffett, is the greatest investor of all time. He is worth $130 billion. You'll be surprised to know that 90% of his wealth he is made after the age of 65. In the initial years, he led the power of compounding. He is one of the earliest investors. He started investing at the age of 11. He really did not see a lot of wealth initially, but with time, this snowball became very big. And look at what has happened. So this is the first the first engine of power. And I think this is very similar to your traditional SIP. And, in India, investors have really taken a hang of the SIP. They are investing so big. This, in fact, in the month of August and September, the SIP amount which was coming was 15,000 and 16,000 respectively. And SIP is a fantastic way of playing this compounding. So this first level is the, traditional SIP compounding. The second part of the engine, the second engine is your step-up SIP. So in step-up SIP, what happens is the SIP amount which is going every month, you increase this SIP amount every year by some percentage. It could be 5%, 10%, 15%. So if you are doing, let's say, 10,000 SIP every month, rather than continuing it for 10 years, next year you do it, let's say, increase by 10% and you make it 11,000. Then you make it 12,000. So you keep investing. Now, it's a small change, but what happens is that this step-up SIP, Neha, acts like a jet fuel, and which helps in driving your investment journey in the vehicle which you're going towards your goal at a super fast speed. Whatever goal you have, it gets achieved at a much faster pace. So I think this is a fantastic power, and every investor should move towards this and start taking benefit of it.
So, Dr. Jindal, talking a little bit more about this, what are the factors that are essential when you're planning to step up your investments?
See, Neha, this is a very important point. It's not that you can just step up your investments, because we don't want that investors increase the investments and later on they have to redeem or they have to reduce the investments, because it breaks the discipline, it breaks the purpose of the investment. So what is required is a little bit of planning. Now, what planning is required? See, Neha, India is a growing country. We generally grow at a nominal GDP of 12, 13%. And historically, the salaries in India have seen an average growth of 10%. So what is clearly known is that income level is going up. So what an investor should be doing is that try to analyze what is his pattern of his income growth. It could be 10%, it could be 15 or 20. And based on his income growth, he should definitely increase his SIP amount, or which is a step up SIP amount. Normally what happens is, when income goes up, our expenses goes up much faster. People
Yeah.
have tendency towards doing lifestyle spending in terms of holidays, you know changing the house, whatever. But I think the most important thing is that before you make incremental changes in your life, with the increase in income, the SIP or your saving percentage towards investment has to go up. That is one. Now, this is a simpler manner, and mostly generally what we see is that people make money through increase of the income through salary. But there are a lot
Yes.
of people who are business owners who don't get a lot of time, steady flows of inflows. Some months it's low,
Mhm.
some months it's high. And a lot of people in the senior management, we have seen that salaries are not a big part of the overall package, but they get bullet payments in the terms of bonus. So when an investor
Yeah.
is doing that kind of planning, he should consider that part, that historically what has been the average, what is the pattern, and accordingly the SIP or the investments can be stepped up, keeping in mind what are the flows, and the change in pattern can be done whenever the bonuses come. And third important factor which needs to be kept in mind for the investors is, see, the investment in step up SIP not necessarily may happen in equity or other risky investments. Normally, we suggest to investors that SIP in equity funds and other investments should be done when the time horizon is more than 5 years. But if you have a goal which is near term, then in that case, you can also do SIP in debt funds, which is a safe investment, or a hybrid fund. So these little bit of planning can be done, but the beauty of this double engine investment or step up SIP is that it's simple. You don't have to think a lot. Just start it, just increase your SIP and just go about it.
Okay. Dr. Jindal, I would also like you to tell the audience that in case we have multiple SIPs, what should investors do? Should they step up all the SIPs or should they choose among those?
So it's a very important question, Neha. And a lot of time, what happens, people get lost in this nitty gritty. They have the intention of increasing the SIP amount, but when they
Yeah.
want to increase, they get lost. Which fund they should do it, how much should do it, how should they plan it? See, to keep it simple, one option is whatever SIP you're doing, you can top up all of them. Okay. If you want to keep it further simple, and if you know that a particular fund is doing well, where your exposure is not very high, you can also do in one fund or few funds where you feel the allocation is low and which are performing better. It may not make sense to increase investment in a fund which is underperforming. Okay.
Yeah.
But having said that, the step up SIP, what is important is you do it. We should not get lost in the fund selection, that which fund we are doing this or that doesn't really matters. What is important is just do it. If you have 5 funds, just increase in all. In long term, they will all give similar returns.
Yeah. One more thing. that how does this type of compounding help the investors? And another question I would like to add to this one only, that how does an investor decide how much percentage to increase each year?
Sure, Neha. See, I think, Neha, this step up SIP is a fantastic tool which have been used by super investors, rich investors for many, many decades. And when we deal with our investors, in fact, there have been so many clients who are very particular about this and they love it. They see a tremendous value in this. And I feel the value comes through this because this is an automatic and disciplined way of investment which manages the behavioral aspect of investment. See, Neha, the biggest challenge in investment, the biggest enemy of investor is himself, is the behavior of the investor. Because of our
Yeah.
emotions of greed and fear, we end up taking actions which are detrimental for the growth of our portfolio. So
Right.
what we are doing is we are trying to break our behavioral impact on the portfolio and bring more discipline. Now, I'll tell you how it is trying to manage the behavior. There are three parts to it. The first is inertia of rest. This is a fantastic law which was given by Sir Isaac Newton. What it tells is that body, if is in a state of rest, it tends to be in a rest until an external force is applied. And we humans are always in inertia. Given a
Yeah.
chance, we just don't want to do anything new. So what happens
Yeah.
is, when you're doing a SIP of, let's say, 10,000 every month, we are in a inertia to increase it. We don't want to change it. We like status quo. So what happens when you automate the investments or step up SIP? You are saying, okay, every year when my salary goes up, I'll increase my step up SIP, my SIP by same percentage, and I'm not going to use my brain. I think that solves or breaks the inertia of rest and brings our body in motion or brings our portfolio in motion. So, this
Yeah.
is one behavioral aspect which gets addressed by this step up SIP. Second most important bit is the saving percentage, Neha. In fact, I want to share with you an interesting data. RBI recently came out with a report of India's net saving percentage for last financial year. And what we found out is that saving percentage in India has fallen to 5.1%, which is lowest in last 40 years. In 2009, the net saving percentage of India was at 12%, which means as a country, we are saving
Yeah.
less. And the reason is, Instagram and other, social channels, which feeds our mind to do ad hoc investments is the problem. People, envisage that they are going to get bonus after 2 months, 3 months or a salary hike, and they end up spending much ahead. So
Yeah.
people are spending more, they're consuming more, which is taking a hit in the portfolio wealth or the retirement planning or the future goals. So in this, what happens in the step up SIP, we increase the SIP amount by default and we don't let our mind work to spend. And we are trying to control our spending. We are trying to bring discipline in our life. So this will help investors in India increase the savings percentage. And I think this is very important. The last bit
Absolutely.
where this helps is that the step up SIP helps in removing the noise from investments. See, Neha, there is a lot of noise in the markets. You have noise of
Right.
war happening, Israel, Hamas, the oil prices going up, recession, job cuts, US Fed rates. If you ask me, does it impact your investments? The answer is in short
Not,
term, it may yes,
yeah, not for the long term.
but in long term, it really doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
really doesn't matter if you have a time horizon of 5 years, 10 years. In short term, it really doesn't changes anything. This is just for, news people like us and, to make stories out of that. Otherwise, investors should not worry about it. They should not
Yeah.
be worried. So the philosophy behind step up SIP is that we should focus on actions which are in our control. See, what is happening in Israel, Hamas is not in my control. What is happening in a given company or what is happening to the Indian economy, a lot of times in short term is not in my control. But in long term, I know it should be all fine. Markets will give 14, 15% kind of return, which has historically happened. What I can focus is on two things. One is my time horizon. If I can
Right.
focus on holding for long term, because that takes care of a lot of noise. Second is how much I'm investing. So this step up SIP increases my investment corpus. So I think it's a fantastic instrument to bring discipline, to reduce noise, to manage the behavioral aspect. It's a fantastic strategy to create phenomenal wealth.
Absolutely right. I would also want to understand how often should investors top up their SIPs if they're planning to do so.
See, there is no fixed pattern, Neha. When you want to do it, if you wake up tomorrow morning and you feel like you can do it, you want to do it, just do it. Just listen to your heart and do it. There is no fixed pattern. And the beauty of SIP is that it's very flexible instrument. It's not like an insurance policy that you bought a policy with, let's say,
Yeah.
1 lakh of annual premium for next 10 years and you're forced to make that investment. The beauty of SIP is that it's very flexible. So let's say you have increased your SIP by 30%. Okay, you were very bullish and you felt that you will be saving 30% this year and you increased it. But 3 months down the line, you felt, no, this was a wrong decision. And maybe you should have increased by 10%. So you have the flexibility to stop your SIP, to change the SIP amount, to increase without any additional charges. So in this whole
Yeah.
system, Neha, there is no penalty. There are no charges for making any mistakes. Okay. So one, you should be open to do it whenever you feel like doing it. That
Yeah.
is one. Second, if you don't get that intention of doing it, because I told you that humans by nature, we are lazy, we are in a state of inertia of rest, we don't want to bring the change. What I'll suggest my investors, my audience, is they should review their investments maybe on a quarterly basis. And if you don't
Okay.
want to do that, then even at least half-yearly basis. Best is quarterly. Look at your portfolio, look at your saving, how much you have done, look at your income levels, what kind of money
Yeah.
is coming in, and you can, if you feel that income level has gone up or there are bullet payments come up, bonuses which have come up, then you can change the SIP. More you do, more
Right.
better. When I say more increase, higher percentage, it's better. So whenever there is any change in lifestyle goal, a lot of time, the change happens in terms of goals or events in the life. For example, you're getting married, you're having
Yeah.
kids, you're buying a house, you're changing a job. These are also events when you can visit your financial plan, we can visit your overall financial situation and plan your investments.
Right. And nowadays, most of the all the actually all the SIPs have that option where you can, while registering for the SIP only, you can choose to get the top up amount, and you can just choose the amount, whichever amount you feel comfortable at that point in time, and then maybe later on you can change it. And as you mentioned that on a quarterly basis, if you keep on reviewing your portfolio, I think that will give you a more clear picture regarding that.
100%, absolutely. And even if you're not doing anything, you do it once a year. I think that will also solve a lot of purpose. But what is important, keep increasing your SIPs, and I think you will be much closer to your goal. Yeah.
One last thing before we take questions from the audience. A lot of people have this query where they feel that they should only do a top up or go for a top up when they're getting a raise. For example, if you got a raise today itself, and then you opted for an SIP, and this investor feels that right now this amount is fine, but for the next 1.5 year he knows that he's not going to get a raise. So is it mandatory that you should only choose for top up once you get a raise, or should you not wait and just automate these things?
See, one, I think, one is you've given a mandate for to the long term of 10 years that every year you increase the SIP and of
Hmm.
10%, which I think I'll not recommend to the investors because after
Okay.
2, 3 years, it will become like 30% hike, which people may not have that kind of growth. Normally, we have seen that during the
Hmm.
career, some years the growth is phenomenal. Like after COVID, the
Yeah.
income levels were phenomenal. Why just stick to 10%? Maybe when the
Hmm.
income levels were higher you could go for 30%, or when the income level was less you could be slower. So I think what would be better is you can do it when every year annual review is something which is fine even if you're not doing quarterly. But if you feel that even you won't have that kind of discipline, then even setting
Hmm.
it up for 10 years with an annual hike of 10% is absolutely fine. Now Neha, I would like to add a couple of points over here. One,
Sure.
see, the step up SIP may not necessarily happen when you have an increase in income level. See,
Hmm.
typically, how do we invest? We get an income. From there, we reduce or take out the expense, and whatever is left is what we do the investment of the SIP. This is
Yeah.
what a normal person does. But Warren Buffett has given a different formula. He says from the income, first you subtract your investment, and whatever is left is what you spend. In fact, we do this for a lot of our clients for even corporate treasuries and all. So, for example, let's say you get 100 rupees. Now, out of 100 rupees, your saving percentage today is 15%, let's say. So, technically,
Hmm.
out of 100 rupees, you can be doing 15 rupees of investment. Now, your income is not going up. Now, you may say, okay, I save generally 15%. Let me increase by saving percentage. So what I'll do is
Hmm.
earlier I was doing a SIP of 15 rupees. Now I'll step this up from 15 to 20% and I'll start doing 20 rupees. So what
Hmm.
you're trying to do, you're trying to increase the saving percentage and reducing your
Yeah.
expenses. And what we have generally seen, Neha, is that when your amount gets reduced, you are able to manage within that framework. Earlier,
Yeah.
I gave you 85 rupees, you're getting 85 rupees, you were managing that. If it reduces to 80, then also you'll be fine. So I
Hmm.
think what is important, you do it and you may not have to necessarily wait for the income increase.
All right. And I think it's very similar to the credit cards also. If you have a credit card, you will spend more, you'll end up spending more. But if you don't have it, you will, try to manage everything with whatever you have in your hand. So I think it's very similar to that.
100%, 100% more the money I give to you or anyone, you'll end up spending much more. That's what we humans are. It's like,
Yeah.
being in a motion of spending. We keep spending more and
Hmm.
more.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we are done with the session for today. But before that, we always have a question answer round with the expert. And today we have some good questions related to our topic of the day as well. So I'm going to take the first question. Avir Manocha is asking how to review our portfolio.
So, Avir, this is a very important question, and I think this is something we really don't know. A lot of time, investors don't know how to review. See, the
Yeah.
first and most important thing is that you need to decide the frequency of review. Okay, whether you're doing on a monthly, quarterly, half yearly, or yearly basis, whatever is comfortable, you can do it. It's also important you should not be doing it daily or weekly. You can do it monthly, and even quarterly is pretty fine. The first stage of review is you should consolidate all your investments. You should make an Excel table, put everything there. Okay, so that you know in one place what you have, what you don't have. A lot of time people even don't know what is there. Second,
Hmm.
when you start putting the information together, you will see, what is your overall asset allocation, how much is in equity, debt, real estate, and you will get a chance to know whether it is aligned with your goals. So, for example,
Yeah.
if there is no spending for next 10 years, there is no big expense coming up, and you're sitting majorly in debt with 70% in debt, then there's something wrong. You can
Hmm.
increase your equity allocation because you don't have any big expense and
Hmm.
generate higher return. So aligning the asset allocation becomes important. And once you're able
Yeah.
to do that, You can see the schemes which needs to be increased if there's any underperforming scheme. And also you can check what is your saving percentage or investment percentage. And if there is an
Right.
opportunity to increase your investments, so I think this review is a fantastic process. It should not take more than 1 hour in quarter. And I think I'm not asking for a lot of time. In 3 months, 1 hour is nothing. But if investors start doing it, a lot of things will fall in place.
Definitely. So the next question I'm picking is by K. Ramal. He's asking, "Hi sir, is SIP the only way? What if an investor likes to invest in direct stock and keep them? What are your thoughts?"
See, SIP doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be mutual funds. Today, the platforms are there, whether you're investing in stocks. In fact, today morning I was looking at a crypto platform also, even they've started offering SIP. See,
Yeah.
SIP is not a fund, it's not an investment, it's a strategy. It's a strategy of investing monthly, and it can be done on anything. It can be done on shares directly, it can be done on crypto, gold, anything. So for example, in your case, if you're investing in shares, and let's say you're buying a share of Reliance, you may create a discipline that every month I'm going to buy one share of Reliance for next 12 months, 24 months, or you have identified 5 stocks, and these
Yeah.
are, you feel, fantastic blue chip stocks. And what you will do is every month, let's say you are investing 5,000 each in all the 5 stocks, and I think that's a fantastic way to build up. And you can top up it with the step up, and next year you may say I'll increase the amount. So I think SIP can be done on anything, and please do that.
Yeah, and a lot of apps also provide that. I have seen that option for stocks as well. So you can check your app, whichever app you're using for buying the stocks. I think you will find the option. You can create a basket also for the particular stocks. Okay. So the next question I'm picking is by Praful. He's asking, which other way is there to achieve the same? Also, is STP also beneficial?
So thank you, Praful. Thanks a lot for asking this question. And what happens is, you talked about other ways, and of course there are many ways of creating wealth. But I think this double engine, is something which, according to me, is the eighth wonder. It's simple. You don't need any brain. You just have to invest, and it can take you to your goal very fast. So I think this is one of the ways. I am sure there are many more ways, and if you are able to find that, you can please do that. Now, you checked about the STP. So Neha, as we were discussing, the business owners as a community, or professionals, let's say lawyers, chartered accountants, or even senior management, normally what we have seen is that they get 50 to 60% of the bonus in bullet payments, bonuses, lump sum amounts. So if they
Yeah.
stick to the SIP, then the SIP will be less. So what investors can do, if you are getting bullet payments, let's say if someone has got 20 lakhs of windfall through a bonus,
Yeah.
so what he can do is, rather than investing 20 lakhs lump sum in the markets, because that time if he decides to do a lump sum, he's open to market timing risk. And also there is a inertia of not investing. You may feel, okay, market is high right now, why invest right now? Let the market correct, and then I'll do it. And we see that a lot of time markets don't fall. So in that
Yeah.
case, he can opt for something called STP, or systematic transfer plan. So let's say the equity fund, for example, you have decided, okay, picked up a Nifty index fund. You have to deploy 20 lakhs in Nifty index fund. So what you can do is, you park the money in a debt fund of same fund house, 20 lakhs, and you ask the fund house to shift 2 lakhs on a monthly basis for next 10 months in the Nifty index fund. So technically you end up doing SIP of 2 lakhs in this Nifty index fund for next 10 months. And during the time
Yeah.
the money stays in the debt fund, you also earn interest, 7.5%. So rather than money lying in your bank account and waiting for market to fall and invest, this is a fantastic opportunity that, you're not putting your brain, you're saying whenever the money comes, I'll just do STP.
Yeah. So one more thing I would like to understand that, like you mentioned, that some people have businesses and then they don't get a monthly salary, and sometimes they do get like a huge chunk of money. And also, there's one more thing to understand here is that those businesses could be cyclical in nature, but not necessarily be in alignment with these markets as well. So might be possible that the market is doing great at that time, and the business is not required or is not doing that much of revenue generation at that point in time. So I think in that situation also, this fits right in the right place as well.
100%. Neha, you're absolutely correct. There's so many cyclical business. The whole of the commodity business is cyclical.
Hmm.
When they have the rally, they will make 10 years of profit in a single year. And
Yeah.
otherwise, they will have dry years, and it has got nothing to do with the business. It's because the underlying commodity is not doing well. Classic example is
Hmm.
steel, aluminium, most of the commodities. Now, over there, a lot of time we get stuck because, markets have fallen. There's a fantastic opportunity, but unfortunately, they are not getting that kind of cash flows. So over here, the planning what needs to be done, Neha, is that of course you do a STP, you keep deploying, but STP also you'll do of 10, 12, 15 months. But let's say what happens if you do all the deployment in 15 months and then market crashes. So in those
Yeah.
cases, Neha, you need to create a buffer amount in the debt funds, which can be used to do lump sum investments in equity whenever there is a crash. Because at
Right.
that point of time, you cannot be dependent on revenue source. So you have the money
Hmm.
lying as a plan for equity buying, or this is also known as dry powder strategy, that you keep a liquidity available to buy whenever
Hmm.
there's a fantastic opportunity. So little bit of planning, no rocket science, but I think if the discipline is there, it can be
Yeah.
definitely done.
All right. Another question I have is from John. John is asking, small cap funds or contra funds, will they continue to outperform? An additional question along with that is, are they essential part of our portfolio?
So very, very interesting question, John, especially for the small cap. Yesterday, the small
Yeah.
cap index was down 4%, and there was a lot of panic. And what
Hmm.
also needs to be understand is that if you look at this financial year, the small cap index has been up 42% when your Nifty was only up 18%. So yes, small cap index has gone up phenomenally high compared to
Yeah.
broader market. And when something goes so high, it tends to be overvalued. There's a lot of froth which gets built up. So if you ask me currently, I feel, your Nifty is overvalued by around 10-15%, and
Hmm.
small caps are overvalued by around 20-25%. So yes, there is a tendency that, it's expensive. And in short term, we may see volatility. But if you have a time horizon of, let's say, more than 5 years, then
Hmm.
small caps are good to hold. My suggestion to anyone here is that small cap is a very, very integral part of any portfolio. India
Hmm.
is a growing economy. There's so many new businesses which are coming up and which are small today, which will eventually become mid and large. And
Yeah.
yes, small has a higher risk. But let me also tell investors that for extra return, you have to take higher risk. There is
Hmm.
no free lunch. And if you're investing in a small cap index or a small cap fund, I think this risk can be easily managed. Because if a small cap fund or an index falls, what you only need to do is hold on, because it will
Yeah.
always bounce back. And typically, what we have seen, Neha, is that if Nifty gives 13-14% return in long term, your small cap ends up giving 18 to 20%. So that is something which
Hmm.
is also known as size effect, and the small cap has
Yeah.
to integral part. John also asked about contra fund. See, contra fund is a strategy which follows more like a value strategy.
Hmm.
The fund manager will invest in stocks and sectors which are attractive right now, where the valuations are very attractive, and hopefully when the sectors start moving up, they will start doing well. Now, what we have seen, Neha, there are different phases in the market. Sometimes growth strategy is doing well. Sometimes growth is doing well. Like in
Yeah.
2023, growth as a strategy has done phenomenally well. You pick up any value strategy, any contra fund, investors have made phenomenal money. Now, that doesn't mean that value will always continue to do well. There'll be a period
Mm.
where quality or growth or other strategy will start doing well. But what
Right.
investors need to do is they need to diversify. They need to have growth, quality, value, different strategies. And at some point
Yeah.
of time, value will be doing well. Sometimes growth will be doing well. So, yes, having value in the portfolio is also equally important. But what is more important is when value underperforms, don't exit that strategy. Wait for the next cycle and it will give you good rewards.
All right. So I think we are done with the questions of the day. I hope all the viewers got the answers they were looking for. I have skipped all the questions that are not relevant to the topic of the day because we are talking about funds and I'm not taking any stock related questions. So I think we are done for today. Thank you so much, Dr. Jindal, for joining us on ET Markets live stream, and thank you to everyone else out there for joining us in today's live stream.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show. Thanks to everyone in the audience. Want to wish Vijay Dashmi, Happy Dashera again to everyone. Wish you a lot of success in the market. Hope you make a lot of money in the coming year. Thank you so much.